Hello students, now this is the posterior part of Norma Basilis. In previous part we have seen the anterior and middle part of Norma Basilis. Now the posterior part of Norma Basilis is separated from the middle part of Norma Basilis by an imaginary line passing from anterior margin of the foramen magnum. It includes, you can see, this is the largest foramen of the skull, foramen magnum. On each side, here you can see this is the condylar part of occipital bone, and behind this foramen magnum, squamous part of occipital bone. So foramen magnum lies in the occipital bone. On each side of it there is condylar part, and here there is squamous part. Foramen magnum, here it is overlapped by this occipital condyles. You can see this is the articulating facet which articulate with the superior articulating facet of the atlas, that is first cervical vertebra. This is the anterior margin of foramen magnum. This is posterior margin of foramen magnum. Anterior margin, it gives attachment to anterior atlanto-occipital membrane, while posterior margin, it gives attachment to posterior atlanto-occipital membrane. This foramen magnum, on its medial aspect, it shows this tubercle. These tubercles gives attachment to alar ligament. Because of the alar ligament, this foramen magnum, which is around 3.5 cm anteroposteriorly and 3 cm transversely in dimension and oval in shape, it is divided into two parts. Anterior smaller compartment which is transmitting ligaments and sometimes the apex of the dens. So it is known as osteoligamentous compartment, while posterior compartment, the neural tissue and the blood vessels they are passing. The posterior compartment is known as neurovascular compartment. Anterior compartment of the foramen magnum transmit apical ligament of dens, sometimes the tip of the dens as well, upper band of cruciate ligament and membrana tectoria. While behind alar ligament, posterior compartment transmit medulla oblongata, which continues from this level as a spinal cord along with the meninges. So medulla oblongata along with meninges, then vertebral arteries with sympathetic plexus of nerves around it, then the anterior and posterior spinal arteries, then spinal root of accessory nerve, that is the 11th cranial nerve, and sometimes the cerebellar tonsils, they also herniate from this region. So these are the structures passing from this foramen magnum. Now on each side of this occipital condyle, anteriorly you can see the hypoglossal canal opens here. So here there is opening of hypoglossal canal. I am putting a probe in the hypoglossal canal. Hypoglossal canal transmit 12th cranial nerve, that is the hypoglossal nerve. Here 12th cranial nerve and an emissary vein, a meningeal branch of ascending pharyngeal artery. So these are the content of this hypoglossal canal. When present, the posterior condylar canal transmit emissary vein and meningeal branch of an artery, occipital artery. So these are the posterior condylar canal. Now behind this foramen magnum, a crest is extending from posterior margin. This is known as external occipital crest, which ends in this external occipital protuberance. From the external occipital protuberance, on each side these lines are arching. These are known as superior nuchal line. From the middle of this external occipital crest, the inferior nuchal line, they are extending on each side. These are curved bony ridges. External occipital crest and external occipital protuberance, it gives attachment to the ligamentum nuchae, while the superior nuchal line and inferior nuchal line, between this area, this gives the semi-spinalis capitis medially, and laterally there is of the obliquus superior capitis. Between inferior nuchal line and this posterior margin of foramen magnum, there is attachment of rectus capitis posterior minor medially and rectus capitis posterior major laterally between inferior nuchal line and posterior margin of the foramen magnum. Anterior to this, you can see here, this is the jugular process of the occipital bone. And this jugular process, it shows this notch. This is known as jugular notch, which form a part of the foramen, jugular foramen, which is an irregular foramen. And this irregular foramen, it is divided into three parts: anterior part, intermediate part, and posterior part. Anterior part, it transmits inferior petrosal sinus. Middle part, it transmits 9th, 10th and 11th cranial nerve along with the meningeal branch of ascending pharyngeal artery. While posterior part, here it lodges the jugular bulb like this, a superior jugular bulb. So here at its commencement, it lodges the superior jugular bulb, which is the dilation of the internal jugular vein. So these are the structures passing from this jugular foramen. It's extending from here to here. The lateral wall of this jugular fossa, it shows a mastoid canaliculus here. This mastoid canaliculus, it transmits the auricular branch of vagus. Now between this carotid canal, you can see this is the opening of carotid canal on the inferior aspect of petrous temporal bone. This lies anterior to this jugular fossa. Between this carotid canal opening and jugular fossa, there is one more canaliculus. This is, and it transmits the branch of glossopharyngeal nerve. So jugular process on its inferior rough surface gives attachment to rectus capitis lateralis muscle. On each side of this jugular fossa, you can see this styloid process. This styloid process, here you can see, this is directed forward, medially and anteriorly around 2.5 cm in length. I am coloring it. This is the styloid process, and it gives attachment to two ligaments and three muscles. Two ligaments attached to styloid process. These are stylomandibular ligament and stylohyoid ligament. While muscles attached to this styloid process, these are stylohyoid muscle, styloglossus and stylopharyngeus muscle. All the three muscles are supplied by the different cranial nerves. Posterolateral to the styloid process, you can see a foramen. This is the stylo. Here I am putting a probe here. This is stylomastoid foramen, as it is between styloid process and mastoid process. Here also you can see stylomastoid foramen. It transmits facial nerve, which is 7th cranial nerve, and stylomastoid artery. Now, as in children, this mastoid process is not developed till 2 years. So, the surgical incision taken behind the ear in small children below 2 years, it may injure this facial nerve, as this bony part is not developed. Now, this is the mastoid process, and here medial to it there is a notch. This is for the posterior belly of digastric. Behind the notch, the groove is there. That groove lodges occipital artery. So this is grooved by occipital artery. This is the mastoid process. It gives attachment to three muscles: sternocleidomastoid, splenius capitis and longissimus capitis from before backward. We can have SSL. Splenius sternocleidomastoid, splenius capitis and longissimus capitis. Posteriorly, it also gives attachment to trapezius here. Trapezius, it also arises from this superior nuchal line and this external occipital crest. So sometimes highest nuchal lines are present here. In this case, you can see this is the highest nuchal line present here, and here when it present, it gives attachment to the occipital belly of the occipitofrontalis muscle. Otherwise, if absent, it is arising from the superior nuchal line. So this is about the norma basalis.